The developers have responded to the support strike in Rivals. Now, there's a lot of different things going on here, and most of it stems from the prevalence of dive meta. Now, to give you an idea as to what this actually is, I know most of you guys probably know, but essentially, a dive hero is a hero that can move very fast and dive into the backline. This was coined in Overwatch, and it became a very prevalent meta, and even to this day, dive comps are very strong. But one of the reasons why this gets amplified on ladder is when you start playing dive heroes, so in the case of Rivals, we're looking at like Wolverine, Spider-Man, Venom, you know, anyone who can move distance very fast and jump onto the back line. What you're doing is saying, I'm going to attack the supports on the enemy team almost relentlessly, and they're going to have to deal with that, and they also need to keep their team alive. And this is where the duality of this comes into play. Now, obviously, there's a lot of players out there, a lot of prominent players who have said, well, support players are generally the worst players in the game. Now, I play support, I play DPS, I play tank. What I will say is support is a different skill set than duelist. Duelist, yeah, mechanically, you need the aim, especially for, let's say, Hela, right? You need to be able to aim. If you're not going to land the shots, you're not going to do any damage. You're going to be pretty useless to your team. If you flip the sort of coin and go to the complete opposite and say, what about Cloak and Dagger as a strategist? She doesn't really have to aim. Yeah, you got to look at targets to aim them, to heal them, but you kind of just look at them and you can do effective healing. But it's a different type of challenge. It's, should I be doing damage? Should I be healing? What is the position I'm holding? Is this good? Am I exposed to the enemy team? The reason why I'm using this gameplay footage in the back of this video of me playing Invisible Woman is I make quite a lot of mistakes in this game. I get killed by Hawkeye because I'm stupid and I'm standing in positions I shouldn't be in. Well, you watch out for it, guys, in this video. It's bad. Like, that is bad support play. I should not be doing that. Anyway, let's bring this back in and let's take a look at what is going on with a support strike, with the developers' reaction, with what's going on in the game, and some lessons that we've already learned literally, 6 or 7 years ago in Overwatch. So these are some basic facts. When you come against a dive comp, you need to change the characters you're playing to counter what the dive is doing. Now, there are some ways you can change your play style as well. So if you're playing, let's say you're playing, I want to keep this to Strategist because it makes more sense. If you're playing Adam Warlock and then you've suddenly got a Venom who's just attacking you all game long, maybe you should swap to Rocket. The same goes if there's like a Magic on the enemy team or a Spider-Man. You need to change your support hero and pick somebody with movement, with survivability to get out of that bad situation. That is you taking control of your game and saying, no, I need to do this now to try and win. That is, of course, if your main priority is to win. If it's not, I mean, it should be if you're playing ranked, but if it's not, then, maybe you try and play the hero you're playing and try and outplay that Spider-Man that's diving on top of you. The other element to all of this is sometimes it doesn't matter what you're doing. If the enemy team are using a very strong dive comp and they are hitting your back line over and over again, you will need support from your team. And the devs have straight up come in and just dropped a bomb here. Now, I did cover this in the recent video, but I really want to go over this again because it is like they've come in and they've said, look, you need to protect your back line. You really do. Now, again, the concept of this is peeling. In Overwatch, back when there was 2 tanks on a team, one tank would be the off tank, and generally that tank would peel. So you'd have a mobile tank with some sort of damage absorption ability like D.Va with a defense matrix. She would peel off and try and keep the backline alive. And in the very early days of dive meta, you would have Zen, who was very easy to kill, but he had some very good abilities like his Discord Orb, which allowed your team to do more damage on targets it was applied to, but he was easy to kill. So the D.Va on your team had to make sure you stayed alive if you were playing Zen by peeling and putting defense matrix over you when somebody like the enemy Tracer or an enemy, like whatever you want to say, a flanker, tries to get into the backline and kill you. That's peeling. And does that happen in Marvel Rivals? I'm not sure. Like, I will also say this as well before I read off what the devs say. I do think it's generally easier to play a dive tank without a brain. That sounds harsh, but what I mean is you just literally YOLO into the back line and go, every fight, I'm just going to jump in and I'm just going to attack their back line. Even if I don't kill them, I'm just going to be in their face, causing loads of trouble. They're not going to be able to heal their team. Hopefully the rest of my team kill them. Whereas if you're playing like a more methodical build, maybe a brawler style, maybe you're playing Magneto, you're sort of with your team and you're pushing slowly with your team. It's like a different, like, it's almost like, what I'm trying to say is when you play dive, you put the onus on the other team to react to you and you're just going in. It's like you're almost saying to them, go on then, what are you going to do? And if you don't make the right decisions, whether that's through team comp, whether that's through your team actually peeling to keep you alive, then you will lose. And you will lose quite bad, and it will feel actually terrible. But let's just take a look at what the devs say here. In this fierce environment, strategists face increased pressures, needing to monitor teammates' health closely while carefully using their key abilities and being mindful of their positioning on the map. Meanwhile, vanguards and duelists must not only attack effectively, but also provide better protection for their strategists to achieve victory. That is a burn from the devs saying you need to keep your backline alive. This game, it's very, very similar to Overwatch in a lot of ways, right? If your supports die at the start of a fight, you are going to lose that fight. If your supports get picked off in a fight, you're probably going to lose that fight. Now, yeah, the same applies for if your tank gets killed, right? So if your front line dies, well, that's not great. That could mean that your backline, your support, are not actually keeping the front line alive. It could also mean a load of other things, like maybe a good enemy ultimate was used, or maybe your tanks used their cooldowns at the wrong time. A lot of different things. But what I'm trying to distill this down to is if you've got a team format where you've got 2 supports and you've got 2 tanks and then you've got 2 DPS, or even if you've got 1 tank and 3 DPS, your supports are at the back. They're providing healing for the rest of the team. The team should be able to function. The difference and the difficulty comes in when an enemy dive hero bypasses your front line and your DPS and goes straight into your backline. Then suddenly it's going to disrupt all the healing output and your team need to react to that. Now, I think this is going to happen really fast with Rivals because I've already noticed it happening in the game anyway. You will get duelists, you will get tanks that start to peel, or instead of them rushing forward, they realise, oh, there is an enemy hero that's relentlessly flanking. So what I'm going to do is try and protect my back line, because if that hero comes in, overextends, and we kill them, then it's a 5v6 for us. It's a different dynamic, a different flow. Now, you will see this if you look at the highest level of gameplay in Rivals. And again, obviously, with Overwatch, but we're keeping this to Rivals. You will see that it's extremely coordinated. Heroes like Adam Warlock were very good because the team would all work together with him. He was very hard to dive. That was the reason why they were using him. This is one of the reasons why he was nerfed, to make him not as strong, to sort of, I think, change up the pro meta. But the pro meta is dive, and the reason for this is it's highly coordinated. They can single out targets. Everyone can attack at the same time. They're always tracking abilities that are going off, key abilities that have been used by enemy players, so they know that for example, I don't know, Invisible Woman doesn't have a push anymore, although that's not too much of a key ability. Well, let's say Invisible Woman's shield is broken, so they know that's broken. So maybe if you were applying that to your flying hero on your team, the enemy team could be thinking, okay, that flying hero now won't have a shield, so we can put more pressure on them. Again, that's just a loose example, but the thing with dive is when you're very coordinated, it becomes very strong. Now, when you extrapolate this out onto the ladder, you get a situation of, if you've got I mean, and you guys will notice this, right? So you'll see like Spider-Man get banned every single game. Hulk will get banned almost every single game. Wolverine gets banned all of the time. I mean, I think Spider-Man's obviously getting banned the most. But just because Spider-Man, the issue with Spider-Man is he's very, very mobile. So Spider-Man can access your back line dead quick. But again, a way to sort of deal with this is peel. If I'm on a team and I know the enemy have got Spider-Man and he's coming into the back line, I'm going to stay with my other support if I'm playing support. We're going to stay together, so if he comes in, he's got to kill both of us. That's a lot harder for him than it is to kill one. Because if he just gets me on my own and maybe I'm playing Mantis or I'm playing Lunar Snow, he can just kill me, right? Or it's going to be in his favor. But yeah, if I'm with my other support, we can keep each other alive. You know, if I'm playing Invisible Woman, I can put my shield up on my other support and we can keep around the shield because it's going to heal both of us. I can also heal her. Or Rocket if they're playing them, or Adam Warlock or whatever, or I can try and do damage to them. You know, sticking together and helping each other out is a massive buff, especially when you're against dive. But like I said, you'll see Spider-Man get nerfed, not nerfed, but he is getting nerfed, but you'll see him get banned. You'll see Wolverine get banned, and it's simply because they're dive heroes. They can get on top of you really fast. You don't see too much Venom getting banned, but Venom is a pretty strong dive tank. Hulk you see getting banned all the time. Again, he's a dive tank, but it's, I think, mainly because people just hate Hulk. It's because of his team up, I think. But Hulk, yeah, he gets banned a lot. But you can't ban them all. This is the other issue. Like, there is going to be space for some heroes with high mobility, whether it's a Magic, whether it's a Star-Lord. You know, you throw any hero in here, you cannot ban them all. So it is an issue. But what the devs are very clearly saying here is you need to protect your back line. Now, I'm not saying supports are the best heroes in the game, you know, the best players in the game, and everyone on the team should be thankful that you've even got a support willing to heal you. But what I'm saying is when you're looking for the win, it's actually quite easy to get kills. If you can see they've got a Spider-Man or whatever, and he just keeps jumping into your back line, and maybe you're playing like, I don't know, a Punisher, an Iron Man, a Hela, whatever. All you got to do is turn around. Instead of just rushing forward every fight, watch the Spider-Man turn around. When he engages, you make that a 2v1 or even a 3v1 if both of your supports are getting attacked in the back line. And you're probably going to kill him, right? Or you're going to make it very difficult for him. And it's very easy. Once you get a kill, and then maybe he comes in again and you get another kill, he'll tilt. That player will absolutely tilt, and then they'll just throw the game. So that's almost like a win. But like what I'm saying is, you've got to look at the game and think, it isn't about, oh, supports, I've got to keep them alive at whatever cost, and I should be thankful I've got a support. It's thinking, they're playing dive. I'm absolutely going to like farm the heroes that are diving my back line. That's the way to view it. And again, with the tanks, you can think, even if you're playing a Magneto, you know what? I'm going to save my bubble. So when that guy comes rushing into the back line, I can bubble one of my supports and maybe give a little bit of assistance to them. Or maybe even the bubble gives them a chance to put out enough damage to get rid of that flanking hero that might be diving on top of them. But I do think it's very interesting that the devs called players out here, because they're just saying, look, guys, you need to play better. You need to have different strategies. You can't just expect to win if the enemy team are diving your back line and you're not doing anything about it. But it's not like the devs are doing nothing. And again, like I said, we've covered this in a recent video, but I want to go over it again because it is worth another discussion. They are buffing Strategist damage, and this is what they say. In the upcoming patch, we will enhance the damage capabilities of certain strategists to elevate their threat levels, which in turn will increase team composition possibilities. Right. So what I'm saying here is they are adding damage to Strategists. Now, in my other video, if you guys watched that, if you didn't, the sort of very quick recap of that is once you start adding damage to support heroes, it can get out of control, because we might start going into a world of a triple support meta where you've got massive healing output from the supports, and also they do enough damage to almost become kind of mini DPS heroes in a way, or they do enough damage that they become self-sufficient where they can look after themselves and they don't really need levels of peel from the tanks or even duelists or the other supports in your team to keep them alive. And that is a worry, because if they're too strong, then they will really take over the game, and that's not really what we want. So there's a massive takeaway from all of this, and it's almost like 2, 3, 4 worlds are colliding. You've got players that have seen this all before with Overwatch. I'm one of them. I'm sure a lot of you guys are one of them as well. You've got players who have never experienced this before, and maybe they're playing Strategist and they don't understand why they're getting killed. And it's not just those guys, it's the duelists and the vanguards who also have never really seen this level of dive meta be so prevalent, or don't even know what it is, and they can't understand why their supports are dying. If you go out onto TikTok or any short video platform or on social media and you look for videos of Rivals of people moaning at supports, you will find some incredible videos where people are like asking for healing, but their supports are absolutely being bodied in the backline. Like, it's literally like a horror movie. They are getting annihilated in the backline. Like, they cannot provide healing because, well, you're over there taking part in a fight and they are getting destroyed. Yet those DPS players or those tank players start asking, where am I healing? What's going on? Where's my heals? These supports are terrible. We need new supports. That's a problem of player perception. It's a problem of player experience. And in time, players will realize, oh, actually, maybe I should look at my back line and try and keep them alive. This is where that whole thing of peel comes in. And again, to use Overwatch as the example, dive meta was very strong. Yeah, and it is backed up by hero buffs and the current meta at the time, because certain heroes will enable certain team comps in a very strong way. So you'll see like heroes that get super strong, and then the community ultimately work out that, you know what, in this comp, they're really, really strong and they become overbearing. In that case, we've got to wait for the developers to make a change. They have to tone heroes down, maybe reduce damage, reduce health, reduce cooldowns or increase cooldowns on their abilities to counter that kind of play. But yeah, you basically get this world of players that have seen it before, players that don't know what to do with it, and players that are just like ignorant to it and don't know what's going on. And a lot of this is sort of culminating in this like support strike, which isn't really a thing. Like, don't go out there and think, oh, if I play Rivals, nobody's playing support. That's absolute garbage, right? That's not the case. I mean, a lot of it is just blown out of proportion. But the developers actually realized they need to make a comment on this. And I think it was generally because a lot of very high-profile streamers and players were pushing the narrative that support players are the worst players in the game. Now, this is a debate you can have forever and ever and ever and ever. And it's always really interesting in hero shooters. Again, you look at Overwatch, right? You can look at this happening in Rivals, and you get the same thing happening where the majority or the narrative is supports are the worst players, right? Duelists are the best players. And then tanks, everyone likes their tank. Like, no one seems to have a bad word to say about their tank. Right? Unless the tank is absolutely brain dead, I suppose. So, like, what is going on here? And again, it's like old man style. I've seen this happen. We all know what's going on here. It's just a case of normally DPS is mechanically intensive. You need to be fast with the mouse. If you're not going to be able to aim or fast with the controller, you can't aim. If you can't land the shots, you will not get results. You will throw the game. Support, it's not about massive, like, ridiculous pinpoint accuracy. It's more about thinking, where do I need to be? What's my cooldown management about? Is my positioning go to, okay, can I see my team? That's kind of what it's about, right? Or what's that enemy offensive ultimate? Do I have a defensive ultimate ready to counter that? Or maybe I'm waiting for an ultimate to counter it. All these things go on. Better support players will be better at doing this, right? So it's still a skill. You know, obviously you could take a bronze support against like a grandmaster support. There's going to be a massive difference in skill, right? Because the GM player, hopefully, is going to be able to understand when to use abilities, when to save abilities. They're even going to track abilities that enemies are using, so they can find little gaps in play. Then you look at vanguards and tanks, and again, it's another skill set of, depends on what kind of tanks you play, whether it's dive tanks, like you may be playing Captain America, maybe playing Hulk, Venom. That's a different skill set to playing brawler tanks like Emma or Magneto or Doctor Strange, whereas you're having to make space for your team. The dive tanks still make space for their team, but you're making space, you're trying to isolate targets, you're trying to attack the enemy tank and put pressure on them, on their tanks, when you know there's a good chance to do it. There's a lot of this like game brain which comes into it, and it's very hard to encapsulate all of that in a video. But it is unfortunate to me that it always does come down to very base arguments. Like, I've seen one thrown around recently of like, oh, if your DPS is playing crap, what do you tell them to do? Go and play support. Well, okay, but if you just put somebody on support, that doesn't mean necessarily they're going to be okay. I would accept there are baseline levels of value that you get through selecting and playing certain roles, right? So if you play Cloak and Dagger or Rocket or Invisible Woman or whatever, and you just spend the whole game just heal botting your team, and you're not really looking for any advantages, you're not tracking any ultimates, you're just, you know, playing the game, yeah, you're going to get more value than if you picked Iron Man and died every single fight at the start because you were out of position and you were just trying to spam damage from range and it's not effective. Whereas the healer would be a bit more effective. So you get more sort of initial baseline value, but as you get better at the game, it becomes more difficult. And the last thing I'll say to people out there that actually do think support is the easiest role is go and play it at higher ranks, because it's quite hard. Now, I am not like some ultra high-end gamer. Maybe years ago I was. Not so much anymore. I'm okay, I'm decent. I play all the roles. Like, I look at them and I think, you know, I played quite a bit of Duelist at the start of this season. I just like to, you know, shift around. It gives you more of a better perspective. But I do think you cannot be as simple as to say Strategist is easy, because when you look at the scenarios of you're being dove upon, you've got pressure from the enemy team being applied to you, you've got to try and keep your team alive, your team are pushing forward, you're getting it. It's like very difficult, it's very sweaty, and you've got to do a lot of different things there. That's much more difficult than it is just healing away with no pressure on you. Whereas as you go through the ranks, you will start to get more pressure. And that's not only from dive heroes, by the way. You know, like I said in the video clip you guys watched, or the majority of this video clip, I get killed by Hawkeye because I'm in bad positions. That's me dying when I shouldn't be dying, so that's not great. I need to sort that out. I hope that makes sense though, guys, but it's really interesting here to see the devs actually shoot back and say, no, maybe you should play the game a bit different, but we are going to give support a bit of help, but we still don't have the details on that just yet, in terms of how much of a damage boost it is, but they are going to get a damage boost. Alright guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Let me know if you've been on a support strike. Have you noticed it in games of people not been playing support? They haven't been in my game. Like, every time there's been 2 supports, so yeah, I don't know. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed that, then let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you soon.